My name is Carla, I'm 33, and I've spent most of my life trying to prove I'm not just another trophy wife. I married Victor, a successful businessman, thinking I'd found stability, until I realized that beneath his polished exterior, there are cracks I couldn't ignore. Unlike my stepdaughter, Maya, who's always been sharp, manipulative, and entirely her father's daughter, I've been the outsider in this family, always second-guessing my place, never quite fitting in. I never wanted to believe Maya's behavior was anything but adolescent angst, but the punch she threw at my pregnant belly last night changed everything. There's a reason behind it, something darker, and I'm beginning to fear that the truth could cost me everything. But the real question is, can I trust anyone in this house? The baby shower was supposed to be a celebration. At least that's what Victor promised when he insisted we throw it. I can't even remember the last time I felt something that resembled happiness when I walked into that room. Maya was in the center. Of course, this was her show, her moment. Everyone doted on her, oohing and awing over the fake smile plastered on her face. "Carla, you look radiant," my mother-in-law called from across the room, her voice thin, but forced in its enthusiasm. I smiled, but it didn't reach my eyes. The house was full of people, but I felt like I was standing alone in a room full of strangers. The champagne was flowing, the chatter was nonstop, but all I could hear were the whispers in my head. Why does Maya hate me? Victor caught my eye across the room. He smiled and waved, but something was off. His eyes lingered on Maya too long. I couldn't shake the feeling that something was brewing under the surface. Then it happened. Maya came up behind me while I was talking to one of the guests. I didn't even see her coming. Before I knew it, her fist collided with my stomach. The pain was sharp and immediate, like a blade driven through me. I gasped, stumbling backward, feeling the air rush out of my lungs. I collapsed, knocking into the table of baby gifts. People screamed. Victor rushed over, his face pale as I gasped for air. "Carla!" He reached down to help me up, but I couldn't speak. I couldn't move. My mind raced as I felt my baby move, kicking frantically. Thank God the baby was fine. But Maya stood there, watching me, her expression unreadable. Cold. Detached. Like she had no idea what she had just done. "What the hell is wrong with you?" I managed to croak. Maya didn't flinch. She didn't say anything. Her eyes locked on mine, as if she were daring me to say more. And then she did something even more chilling. "You think you can just waltz into my father's life and take everything?" she hissed, her words barely audible over the chaos in the room. "You have no idea what you're up against." Victor had already moved to my side, pulling me into his arms, his expression hardening. He turned to Maya, his voice low and dangerous. "Get out." Maya didn't move. She just smiled. A cruel, knowing smile that made my blood run cold. I was no longer sure if she was the villain in this story, or if I was. Victor guided me to the couch, his arms tight around me, but my thoughts were racing. What had just happened? Why would Maya do this? As the ambulance arrived and I was being examined, the strange silence from Maya lingered in my mind. There was something more to her anger, something I hadn't understood. I overheard a nurse whispering as she walked past the ER curtain. "Did you know Maya's been coming here every week? It's strange. She doesn't seem to care about anyone but herself." That caught my attention. "Maya, at the hospital? Why?" The doctor gave me the all clear, but as we left the ER, my mind didn't feel settled. If Maya had done this, then there was a reason. A reason that didn't just involve her jealousy. Something deeper, something more dangerous. We drove home in silence. Victor kept glancing at me, but I didn't want to speak. I wasn't sure I even wanted him here anymore. "Carla," he started, but his voice faltered. "Maya's been under a lot of stress. Don't make excuses for her," I interrupted, my voice tight. "She did this on purpose." Victor's jaw clenched. "We'll talk later, okay? I need to handle this." I shook my head. "No. We'll talk now. What's really going on? Why did Maya attack me like that? What's she hiding? Victor didn't respond immediately. Instead, he stared out the window, his knuckles white as he gripped the steering wheel. The silence between us felt suffocating. I don't know, he said finally, his voice quieter than I expected. But I think you're about to find out. As we pulled into our driveway, I saw Maya standing by the front door, her arms crossed, staring at us as if she had all the answers. I could feel it, the weight of something heavy and sinister hanging in the air. And for the first time, I realized I wasn't just married to Victor. I was married to a secret that had the power to destroy everything. But the real question is, can I trust anyone in this house? The door creaked open, and Maya's eyes never left mine. You really think you're the one in control here? Think again. The house was unnervingly quiet when we returned, the echoes of the baby shower still hanging in the air like a faint, uncomfortable hum. Victor was quiet too, his hand gripping the steering wheel so tight his knuckles were white. I could feel the tension between us thickening, heavier than the cold silence. He glanced over at me as we parked in the driveway. I'll talk to Maya, he said, his voice tight, but I didn't believe him. He wasn't the type to talk about uncomfortable things. Not when it came to her. I stepped out of the car and made my way toward the door, my mind racing. Maya's punch hadn't just been physical, it had rattled me deep. The look in her eyes, the way she stood there, cold and calculating, almost as if she knew something I didn't. I felt someone watching me from behind as I entered the house. The hair on the back of my neck stood up. I turned, half expecting to see Maya lurking in the shadows, but it was just Victor, still leaning against the car, watching me intently. He didn't come inside right away, and I felt it. Something was off, but I couldn't pinpoint exactly what. Inside, I tried to focus on getting some peace. I made a cup of tea and sat by the window, trying to make sense of the chaos. I wasn't sure if I was more afraid of Maya's aggression or the fact that I was beginning to suspect my husband's involvement in something much darker. Victor's absence made it feel like the house was closing in on me. There was a restlessness in the air, a feeling that something terrible was about to break. The sound of the front door, creaking open, made me jump. It was Maya, standing in the doorway, her posture stiff and her face unreadable. "Can we talk?" she asked, her voice flat. I wanted to refuse. I didn't know if I could trust her, but there was something about her tone, something raw, that made me hesitate. She wasn't the same Maya I'd seen earlier. This time, there was a vulnerability in her eyes, something broken, something I hadn't seen before. I nodded and motioned for her to sit. The room felt smaller now, the tension thickening, pressing in on us both. She took a deep breath before speaking again. "I didn't mean to hurt you," she said, her voice wavering just slightly. "I swear." I laughed bitterly, the sound harsh in the stillness of the room. "You punched me in the stomach. You did mean it, Maya." She winced like my words were a physical blow. "No, I didn't want to hurt you. I had to do it." I raised an eyebrow, disbelief painted on my face. "Had to do it? What are you talking about?" She leaned forward, her eyes flickering nervously. "There's so much you don't know, Carla. Things you need to know before it's too late." I folded my arms, leaning back in the chair. "Like what? Tell me what the hell is going on, Maya. Why would you hurt me? Why would you even?" "The people my father is involved with. They're dangerous. They're watching us. Watching you," she said, her voice dropping to a whisper. My heart skipped a beat. "What people?" She hesitated, glancing over her shoulder like she was afraid someone would hear. "I never meant for you to get caught up in this. I didn't know how to warn you." "Warn me?" This wasn't a warning. This was a betrayal. I stood up abruptly, pacing. "Why should I believe a word you say? You've been nothing but cold and distant since the moment I met you." Maya bit her lip, looking down at her hands. "Because I'm trying to protect you. And your baby." I froze. The air in the room felt suddenly suffocating. "Protect me from what?" Maya's eyes met mine, and for the first time I saw something real behind them, a flash of fear. From my father. From Victor. The words hit me like a punch to the gut. Victor? How could she? How could he? I know it sounds crazy, Maya continued, standing up and walking toward me. But I've seen things. I've heard things. Your husband, he's in deeper than you realize. Deeper than he's ever told you. I felt my blood run cold. I wanted to scream at her, demand answers, but her words were too much. Stop. Stop talking. You're saying my husband. What? Involved in what? What is this? Maya's expression hardened. Victor's been involved in illegal stuff for years. Money laundering. Deals with people who don't care about anyone. And now they've turned their attention on you. I stood frozen. Her words didn't seem real. My mind fought against the possibility, but something in her face told me she wasn't lying. The pieces were starting to fall into place, but I didn't want to believe it. Why didn't you tell me this before? I finally whispered, my voice trembling. I didn't know how. I didn't know who to trust. I thought if I just stayed quiet, it would all go away, she said, her voice breaking. But now everything's falling apart. They're coming for us, Carla. Suddenly, a loud bang at the door made me jump. I spun around, my heart racing. Maya looked panicked. They're here, she hissed, backing toward the window. They know I talked. They know we're onto them. Before I could react, she shoved past me and ran for the back door. I stood frozen, my mind racing. What was happening? What was Maya involved in? And why had she dragged me into this? I wasn't ready for this. I wasn't ready for any of it. I ran to the door, opening it just enough to peek out. My breath caught in my throat as I saw two men standing at the front gate, watching the house. Their eyes locked onto mine, and for a moment I could swear they could see straight through me. Get inside, Maya whispered urgently, pulling me back from the doorway. We're not safe here. I closed the door behind me, my heart pounding in my chest. The house no longer felt like a home. It felt like a cage. You really think you're the one in control here? Think again. The words echoed in my mind, and for the first time I realized how much danger I was truly in. Maya was right about one thing. Things had just gotten a lot darker, and I had no idea who I could trust. Maya's words kept echoing in my head. Victor is involved in something dangerous. I tried to push it out, tried to focus on the baby, but the more I thought about it, the more I realized how little I knew about the man I married. The house was too quiet, the kind of quiet that screams of a storm coming. Victor had gone silent after Maya's confession. I knew he was hiding something. There was no way around it. But what? What had I missed all these years? What was he mixed up in? And why hadn't I seen it sooner? My eyes flitted over the room as I walked to the kitchen. The soft hum of the refrigerator filled the space, but it did nothing to ease the tightness in my chest. I grabbed my phone, pulled up the number I had been avoiding for days. Charlotte, the only person who might be able to help me now. Charlotte was my old friend, a former lawyer turned private investigator. We'd shared a few cases back in the day, and I knew she still had connections. When she answered, I didn't waste time. Charlotte, I need you to look into something for me. It's about Victor. There was a pause on the other end. Then a low whistle. Victor? You're serious. I'm dead serious, I replied, gripping the phone tighter. I think he's involved in something. Something big. And I think Maya knows more than she's telling me. I need answers. Now. I'll dig into it. But this sounds like something beyond just dirty money, she said. Be careful, Carla. I know, I murmured. I feel like I'm already in too deep. The call ended, but the knot in my stomach didn't loosen. What had Victor done? And more importantly, why was Maya so willing to let me suffer for it? I spent the next few hours combing through Victor's office. The walls of his study were lined with thick, leather-bound books, the kind of expensive decor that screamed wealth. But beneath the surface, I knew there were secrets buried deeper. I opened the drawer to his desk. Papers, contracts, scattered files. Nothing I could make sense of immediately. But I knew there was something here. I pulled out a thick folder and started going through it, flipping through pages of high-end real estate transactions, bank transfers, and then there it was. A name. Wade Wesson. I ran my fingers over the paper, the name burning into my mind. I had no idea who he was, but I could feel the weight of it. I pulled out my phone and typed the name into the search bar. A few clicks later, I found my answer. Wade Wesson, a known criminal figure with ties to international money laundering operations. My heart slammed in my chest. This was it. This was the connection. Victor hadn't just been lying to me. He'd been living a double life. I couldn't sit still anymore. I had to confront him. But the thought of doing so made my stomach twist. I waited until nightfall when I knew Victor would be home. The house had gone still, and the low hum of the outside world only made the silence inside feel more suffocating. When the door finally opened, I turned around to face him. He stood in the doorway, his face unreadable. "Carla," he began, his voice low. "We need to talk." "No, you need to talk," I shot back, my voice tight with frustration. "I know about Wesson. I know about the money. What's going on, Victor?" He froze for a moment, his eyes narrowing. "Where did you hear that name?" "Does it matter?" I stepped closer, my anger building. "All this time, I've been in the dark, trusting you, and for what? For you to be involved with criminals, to lie to me about who you really are." "Carla," he said, his voice strained, "you don't understand. I did what I had to do to protect us, to protect you. This is bigger than you think." I couldn't believe what I was hearing. Protect me? By lying to me? By involving me in this mess? "I never meant for it to get this far," he admitted, his gaze flickering. "But I'm in too deep now. And so are you." The words hung in the air like a death sentence. I took a step back, feeling the weight of the truth press down on me. My hands shook as I crossed my arms over my chest. "Victor, you've been lying to me for years. Who are you really?" He closed his eyes, his expression one I couldn't read. When he opened them again, there was something darker in his eyes, something I hadn't seen before. "I'm not the man you think I am, Carla. But everything I've done has been for us. For you." The words felt empty, like an echo bouncing off the walls. I wanted to believe him, I really did. But I couldn't ignore the truth anymore. "You're not just involved in dirty money, are you? You're part of something bigger, aren't you? Something dangerous." Victor didn't answer. Instead, he turned away, his back to me. "You're right," he said, his voice barely above a whisper. "And I'm afraid it's too late for us now." The tension between us was suffocating. As I watched him, standing there with his back to me, a cold chill ran down my spine. He had just admitted it. Everything. I took a deep breath, trying to steady myself. But the weight of the situation was already pulling me under. I couldn't trust him anymore. I didn't know what to believe, but I did know one thing for certain. Victor was hiding more than just financial secrets. Before I could say anything else, there was a knock at the door. I looked up, my heart in my throat. Who could that be? Victor's expression shifted instantly. The warmth in his eyes was gone, replaced by something colder. "Stay here," he ordered, his voice now sharp. I watched him walk toward the door, my heart pounding in my chest. Something was happening, something I wasn't ready for. The door creaked open, and I held my breath, waiting. Then everything went silent. A voice I didn't recognize drifted through the crack in the door, low and clipped. "Victor, it's time." It was only then that I realized this was no longer just about money or betrayal. This was something much darker, and I was already in way too deep. I stood frozen in the hallway, the faint light from the chandelier casting long shadows across the room. Victor's words hung in the air, thick and suffocating. "It's too late for us now." What did he mean? Was he giving up? Was there no way out? I clenched my fists, nails digging into my palms. My baby was in danger. I had to do something, anything to protect us both. The door was still slightly ajar, the figures outside now moving closer to the house. My pulse raced. I wasn't sure what to do. The house, once a sanctuary, now felt like a trap. I turned quickly, heading toward the back room, the sound of my heels sharp on the hardwood floor. In the study, I grabbed the phone from the desk, dialing Charlotte's number again. "Carla!" Her voice was sharp, urgent. "I've been digging, but this is bigger than I thought. There's a network behind Victor. Wesson is just a front. I need to meet you. This isn't something I can explain over the phone." My heart skipped. "Where?" I almost choked on the word. "Meet me at the old warehouse on 3rd Avenue. 10 minutes. And don't bring anyone." I didn't ask any more questions. The weight of her voice, the urgency, this was a matter of life and death. I didn't have time to waste. I grabbed my coat, hastily throwing it on. My hands shook, but I forced myself to steady them. As I opened the door, I almost collided with Victor, standing in the frame, his face twisted with something between frustration and fear. "Where are you going?" he demanded, his voice cold. I paused, the tension thickening like the air before a storm. "I need answers, Victor. You've lied to me long enough. And now I need to know the truth. All of it." He stepped closer, his body stiff. "You don't know what you're getting into. It's not just about you anymore, Carla. It's about everyone." "You mean you," I spat. "Everything you've been hiding, everything Maya said, it's all true. I can't trust you. I can't even trust myself with the truth anymore." His eyes narrowed, his jaw tightening, but there was something else, something darker in the way he looked at me, as if he were trying to hold on to control, but couldn't quite manage it. "I'm not going to let you do this," he whispered. "You have no idea what you're dealing with." I shoved past him, the door slamming shut behind me. As I stepped out into the cool night, the weight of the silence seemed to swallow me whole. The city was quieter than it should have been. I could hear my heartbeat in my ears, the rush of blood filling my head as I sped toward the car. 10 minutes later, I was pulling into the dimly lit parking lot of an old warehouse. The buildings around it were mostly abandoned, their dark windows reflecting the faint streetlights. The atmosphere was unnerving, empty, cold, abandoned. I stepped out of the car, glancing around. The air was thick with tension, every sound amplified. The only movement I could see was the subtle flicker of a distant light. As I approached the warehouse, I noticed Charlotte standing near the back entrance, her coat pulled tightly around her, her face lit by the flickering streetlight. She looked around cautiously before she spotted me and gestured for me to hurry. "What is this about?" I asked, my voice trembling with a mix of fear and anticipation. She grabbed my arm, pulling me inside. The door shut behind us with a sharp click. "We don't have much time," Charlotte said, her voice low. "Victor isn't who you think he is. I've been digging into his financials, his contacts. He's deeper into something dark than even I imagined. I've connected him to Wesson, sure, but there's more. The people behind him, they're not just criminals. They've got ties to some of the most dangerous organizations worldwide." I felt my stomach drop. I knew it. I knew there was something. But this... I trailed off, unsure what to feel. "What's the real game, Charlotte?" Charlotte's eyes flickered to the shadows, then back to me. "They're into more than money, Carla. They deal in people. People's lives, their futures. They don't just make deals, they destroy them. And Victor? He's part of it. I'm not sure how far he's gone, but I know he's tangled in something that even I can't untangle without more help." I shook my head. "No, this can't be real. My husband, he's clean. He's not like that." Charlotte gripped my shoulders, forcing me to meet her eyes. "You think he's been protecting you all this time, but he's been using you to cover his tracks. It's all a game to him, and you're in the middle of it." I recoiled, her words like a punch to the chest. "I don't believe you." She let go of me, her face hardening. "Then you'll find out the hard way." Suddenly, the sound of tires screeching filled the air, and a car rolled into the lot. I froze, my breath caught in my throat. Charlotte's eyes widened, and she stepped back into the shadows, motioning for me to do the same. I barely had time to react. Through the warehouse's grimy windows, I could see a figure stepping out of the car. Victor. You weren't supposed to be here, Charlotte muttered, her voice shaking. He's following you. I could feel my pulse racing as I watched Victor approach the entrance. What was he doing here? And how had he found me? Before I could move, Charlotte's voice cut through the tension. He's not just trying to cover his tracks anymore. He's coming for you, Carla. This is bigger than you think. This is about control. I didn't have time to process it. My hand moved to my side, where I felt the cold press of the gun in the waistband of my jeans. I didn't even remember putting it there. But now it felt necessary. Victor was getting closer. I didn't have much time. You really think you're the one in control here? Think again. The words echoed in my head, and for the first time I realized just how close I was to losing everything. I wasn't sure what was going to happen next. But one thing was for sure, I had to get out of here. And I had to get out now. The pounding in my head wouldn't stop. My hands trembled, fingers slick against the steering wheel as I sped through the dark streets. The silence in the car was oppressive, but my mind was alive with questions, unanswered and burning. Victor had come to the warehouse, but he hadn't seen me. He couldn't, not when I was so close to the truth. I glanced at the rearview mirror, my eyes darting over my shoulder. Nothing. No cars following me. I hoped. The weight of the phone call with Charlotte still hung over me. Victor's been hiding things. There's a deeper game. The words gnawed at me. What did she know that I didn't? I pulled up to a rundown motel at the edge of town, the flickering neon light casting shadows across the parking lot. Charlotte was waiting by a side door, her figure dark and unassuming against the dim light. I didn't trust her fully, not yet, but I had no other choice. I needed answers, and she was the only one who seemed to have them. "Carla!" She greeted me with a tight nod, her voice low. "We don't have much time." The door slammed behind us as we entered the dimly lit room, the air thick with the scent of stale coffee and cigarette smoke. Charlotte moved quickly to the small table in the corner, dropping a manila folder on it, and gestured for me to sit. I took the seat, my eyes locking on the folder. My pulse quickened. "I did some digging," she began, her voice steady, but the hint of fear in her eyes wasn't lost on me. "Victor's tangled up in something bigger than just money. He's connected to a network of illegal arms deals and human trafficking. I found documents that tie him directly to Wesson's group and others." I felt my stomach drop. Human trafficking? The words felt like they didn't belong in this world, this life I thought I knew. Charlotte didn't flinch. "Yes, and that's not even the worst of it. There's a third party involved, someone you really don't want to mess with. And I'm not talking about Wesson anymore. This goes all the way to the top." I shook my head, trying to process. "Who's at the top?" She opened the folder, revealing pages of contracts, names, numbers, and dates. Evidence I couldn't even begin to understand, but it didn't matter. The faces on the pages were enough. And the name at the top made everything click into place. The Henderson Group. Victor's been laundering money for them. "But it's more than that," Charlotte continued. "They have ties to political figures, police, even high-ranking military officials. If you go against them, they'll crush you." I could feel the world shifting beneath my feet. The walls seemed to close in. This was no longer just about Victor. He was a pawn just like me. The question wasn't how I could protect myself anymore. It was how I could stop this before it consumed everything. "How do you know all this?" I asked, my voice trembling with something between disbelief and fear. Charlotte met my eyes, her expression hardening. "Because I've been watching them, tracking them. I've seen how they operate, how they've gotten away with everything." She leaned in closer, her voice dropping to a whisper. I know what they're capable of, Carla. You can't stop them. Not on your own. I don't have a choice, I whispered back, my hands clutching the edge of the table. I can't just let them do this. Not to me, not to my baby. Charlotte sighed, standing up and walking toward the window. Then you need to understand one thing. You think Victor's the enemy? He's not. He's just the vehicle. The real power, the real enemy is behind him. A knock at the door interrupted us, sharp and fast. My heart skipped a beat. I stood up instantly, my hand reaching for the gun, hidden in my jacket. Charlotte motioned for me to stay back, her eyes scanning the door with caution. Don't answer it, she hissed, moving toward the corner, ducking into the shadows. I held my breath, listening to the footsteps that followed. A pause. Then the door handle rattled. The sound of the door opening was almost deafening in the quiet room. Who is it? Charlotte's voice cut through the tension like a knife. The man's response sent a chill down my spine. You know why I'm here, Charlotte. You have information, and we can't let that get out. My heart pounded. I recognized that voice. It wasn't just anyone. It was Nolan. Nolan was one of Victor's associates. A fixer. Someone who made sure things stayed buried. Don't be stupid, Charlotte said, her voice rising with desperation. You think I'm scared of you? I glanced at her, confusion rising. Charlotte, what's going on? What does he want? She motioned for me to stay silent, but my heart was pounding in my chest, the adrenaline forcing me into action. This wasn't just a conversation. This was a warning. A direct threat. I moved toward the door, trying to keep quiet, trying to make no sound. The doorknob turned slowly, and then the shot rang out. I stumbled backward, my hands raised in reflex, but it wasn't me who'd been hit. It was Charlotte. She crumpled to the ground, her face twisted in shock and pain. No. I screamed, rushing forward, but Nolan was already stepping over her, his face calm and unreadable. You really thought you could go up against us? Nolan sneered. Foolish. I dropped to my knees beside Charlotte, her blood soaking into my hands. She was still alive, but barely. Her eyes met mine, a flicker of something in them. Get out of here, Carla, she whispered, her voice weak. This isn't your fight anymore. They're coming for you. Leave. But I couldn't leave. Not now. A voice, soft but insistent, echoed in my mind. The enemy is always closer than you think. I had no idea what that meant yet, but I was about to find out. As Nolan stepped back, his cold eyes watching me, something in my gut twisted. I had underestimated this war, and now the real fight was about to begin. The silence in the room was suffocating. My hands were trembling, and the cold metal of the gun pressed against my side like an anchor. Charlotte was gone and Nolan was gone, but the reality of what had just happened felt like it was still chasing me, closing in on all sides. The lights flickered as I stood there in the dim motel room, still in shock. I could hear the faint hum of the outside world, the cars driving past, the distant sounds of the city, but nothing felt real anymore. My world had shattered, and I had no idea how to piece it back together. Victor's betrayal, Charlotte's warning, and now this. A world of lies, violence, and betrayal. Things I had never thought possible. How had I let myself get here? I walked over to the window, pushing the blinds aside to look out at the empty parking lot. There was no one watching, but I could feel their eyes on me, as if they were always there, waiting, lurking. The phone in my hand buzzed, snapping me out of my thoughts. I looked at the screen, my heart skipping a beat. The name was unfamiliar, but that number was one I recognized. Victor. I hesitated before answering, my throat dry. Hello. Carla. His voice came through the phone, low and cold. You don't know what you're dealing with. I swallowed hard, gripping the phone tighter. I know enough. You don't. You don't understand the bigger picture. This isn't just about me anymore, Carla. They won't stop coming for you. You've made it personal. I could feel the chill in his words. "What do you want?" "I'm giving you one chance," he said, his voice hard. "You walk away and you never look back. Or they'll come after you. They will find you, Carla. No one's safe. Not you. Not the baby." The weight of his words sank into my chest. Was this a threat? Or was he trying to save me? "I can't walk away," I whispered, the words tasting like ash. "I've already lost too much." He didn't respond right away, and for a second all I could hear was the faint sound of his breathing on the other end. "Then you're already dead," he finally said, his voice dripping with finality. "If you're still breathing, you'll make your peace with it. But there's no going back now." The line went dead. I stood there, the phone still in my hand, my chest tight. His words echoed in my mind, but it wasn't just him I feared anymore. It was everything. Everything I had uncovered. The lies, the treachery, the people I had once trusted. The real enemy was closer than I thought. But no more. This was the moment I had been waiting for. The moment to take control, to push back. I wasn't going to sit back and wait for them to come for me. No, I was going to make them pay. I moved quickly, grabbing the small duffel bag I had left by the door. I pulled out the documents Charlotte had given me and looked over them one last time. The names, the deals, the connections. It was all here. Everything I needed to bring down the people who had torn my life apart. I had a plan now. It wasn't perfect, but it was the only choice I had left. The moment I stepped out of the motel room, the cold night air hit me like a punch to the face. But I didn't flinch. There was no time for hesitation. I had no idea where I was going, but I knew one thing. I wasn't going to let them destroy me. Not without a fight. The next few days felt like a blur. I kept moving, always on edge, always aware of the eyes that seemed to be watching me. But I kept my head down, biding my time. Each step brought me closer to the end game. I took the documents to the authorities. I reached out to Charlotte's old contacts. I knew I couldn't do this alone, but I wasn't alone anymore. The people I'd once trusted were gone, but I was learning to trust myself. And for the first time in days, I felt something stir inside me, something I hadn't felt in a long time. Hope. The investigation moved quickly. The pieces started falling into place. Nolan's name came up again, and then Wesson. His connection to Victor wasn't just business. It was personal. I couldn't stop the rage from rising as I realized the depth of Victor's involvement, his betrayal. But I was past the point of turning back now. Then the twist came. I was sitting in a quiet cafe, the warm cup of coffee in my hands, when the call came through. The number was blocked, but I picked it up anyway. "Carla!" The voice was familiar but distant. "You think you've won. You think you figured it all out. But you're too late." My heart skipped. It was Victor. But this time, there was something different about his tone. Something far darker. "I know who you really are," I said, my voice steady. "And I'm going to take you down, no matter what." Victor's laugh was cold, devoid of humor. "You think it's that easy? You think you're the hero in this story? You're just a pawn in a game much bigger than you'll ever understand. They've been watching you from the start, and they'll be coming for you soon." The line went dead again, and I sat there, my hands shaking. They'd been watching me. That phrase echoed in my head. Who was they? Was it Victor's people? Was it something far more dangerous? The realization hit me like a freight train. This had never been about Victor or me or even the baby. This was about control, power, and I had been caught in the web from the very beginning. I stood up, my breath quickening. It was time to face the truth. They were already here, and I was ready to fight. I'm not the same person I was when this all began. The lies, the betrayals, the endless web of manipulation. It changed me. But I'm stronger now. Because sometimes the only way to survive is to stop running. Sometimes the only way to protect the ones you love is to tear down the system that threatens to destroy everything. It's not just about survival. It's about taking control of your fate. And I won't let them take that from me. Not now. Not ever. This is just the beginning.